Welcome to this episode of the Same Page podcast. My name is Everett Dowdler. With me today again is Sue Barlow. How are you, Sue?
Oh, I'm just dandy.
Yeah, and we're so excited to have this episode of the Same Page podcast, which is sponsored by the Raise Center. And the Raise Center is a technical assistance center that supports parent centers in the area of transition. So, helping youth with disabilities make the move from high school to adult life. And with us today, we have a mother son team who are near and dear to me, who I feel like I've known for a few years now because we've done some awesome work together. And when we were decided to do this podcast, they were on my short list of must-have guests. It's Billy and Debra. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, Billy, and let us know where you're from, and then let your mom go ahead and introduce herself.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely an honor, Everett, to hear that we were on your short list. And greetings, Same Page listeners. My name is Billy Pickens, and I am originally from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, to be exact. But I'm currently in New York. I was just talking off camera, spending time with my family here because my sister just had twins. But uh, anyway, a little bit about myself. I was born totally blind with progressive hearing loss. So I have a rare genetic condition called Norris disease. But despite all that, I've been able to navigate through life. I've been in public school all my life, and apologize, I might hear a baby in the background. But I went to a
Okay.
four-year college, UNC Charlotte, where I majored in communications, mass media focus, and I minored in journalism. And I worked for a bit at my parent center in North Carolina, um, helping youth advocate for themselves and become better self advocates as I learned throughout my journey, and I'll be getting more into that today here. But as I said, it's a great honor to be here. I've known Everett for a couple of years also. I've been part of the Getty team, which is a group of youth. I'm sure you've heard some of them that are throughout the country who come together. We developed the website and some projects. So we'll probably talk more about that today. But yeah, glad to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Thank you. And mom,
Okay, I'm still adjusting this video, so hopefully
you
you can.
got it. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're fine.
I am Billy's mom, Deborah Pickens, and I'm the daughter of parents that were totally blind. My father was deafblind, and they gave birth to three sighted children, raised us, and I went to school. Uh, got an undergraduate degree in business administration and MBA, and then I went on to be certified in visual impairment. And so I have a lot of personal experience with working with individuals with special needs, and I look forward to this podcast.
Thanks. And Sue, I guess
Great.
we're gonna have our first question. I think it's gonna go
Yeah, I'm
actually
just going to keep going.
I think mom might be the first one on the block here to answer a question.
Yep.
I think.
So, Deborah, now that it's just us,
Okay.
tell me what, and you probably have a unique perspective here. Tell me what it was like when you first found out that Billy had a disability. Like, tell me your experience in where a set of lenses is if you're, you know, giving advice to people who may have children much younger than you. Because that's who we want to see this podcast are families who are going to learn from other families.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. At working as at ECAC, Accepting Children Assistance Center, and working with parents, it's really important to give them the parent perspective. And given that I had parents that had special needs, I had the experience of being raised in that environment. So I think that it is so critical for that initial contact. When Billy was born, we knew that he had the uh, percent. There was a percentage like 80-20, whether or not he would get Norris disease. So we did our homework. Um, and we decided that we were going to take the chance And I'm glad we did because Billy is a special person. And so I knew the resources that he needed on day one. To be honest with you, I was more upset with the medical team. I mean, the doctor was excellent and he did what he needed to do. He came in and, but some of the people just didn't get it. They came in, they were sad, they were crying, and I was like, please bring me my baby boy, because he can learn and he can live a
Mhm.
successful life, just
Mhm.
as all of us. So, I mean, I think early on, making sure you know the history of your family, that's critical. And then knowing if there's a chance that that child may be born with a disability, know what resources you need to tap into. Billy started getting uh, early intervention. Really, he went to daycare at 6 weeks, and he had somebody come into the home before that. He had somebody going into the daycare center when he went to daycare, and then he had the VI specialist teaching him Braille. So that early intervention is so critical.
Oh, from
And
your mouth to God's ears.
yeah, but also know a lot of parents, including my daughter. You have to respect when they're ready to talk about it and request that intervention.
Hmm.
So sometimes parents they just need that time to process it. But and that's okay. But at the end of the day, do what's right for your child because um, they need that intervention and they need those services.
So when you started to talk to Billy about his disability, how did that go? And what were those conversations like? Like when you first started to talk to him about it?
Um, hmm.
I know, I'm taking you
I don't think
back.
we really talked about it. I think
Yeah,
it was
they were.
something that we,
Yeah, because he has two uncles, uh,
you know,
cousins, yeah, with Norris disease. So he knew about it, throughout the different,
Right.
generations. And so, and we actually he did a paper on Norris disease. So he educated himself when he started school. I mean,
Oh
he
my
he
God.
he had to do it because he had to advocate for himself and educate his teachers more so it's safe to say it, more so the VI teachers than the general ed teachers and the professors at college.
Hmm.
So Billy has been advocating for himself, Billy, since birth.
Right.
Well, and Billy, what has that journey been like for you, Billy? What I know you are an advocate at your soul, so you can say it's great. But like really dig into like, was it always so great to have to do that? Like, and what was it like having to navigate all that advocacy? Which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to have you here today.
I think one of the things that I can't remember exactly who said it, but somebody once told me that about this idea of chaos and how, I think in society, especially, we tend to try to run away from chaos or try to run away from trauma or things that, uh, you know, might worry us or scare us. But the person said one of the cool things about chaos is it's about the unknown, which means it could go either way. So it could be really negative, or it could be really positive, or it could be a bit of both. Which, in my experience, like it just in life in general, that's been the reality is that yeah, you're gonna have some good days, bad days, but in all reality, it can be both. And so I think that my self advocacy journey, it's has ups and downs. It's had its chaos, but one thing I feel like I've learned throughout my self advocacy journey is to embrace the unknown, is to try new things, is to find the confidence in myself to at least uh, try to communicate with people, and try to encourage others to communicate with people as well. So I think communication is really key, and I think that early on in elementary school, I was an advocate, but I also had my parents that knew a lot. They could advocate for me. But once I reached middle school and I started to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do in life, there was definitely pushback and well-intentioned pushback and people that felt like they knew what was best for me. And so I was kind of put in a position where I had to advocate for myself. He would ask me 15 years ago if I'd be an advocate. I probably would have told you no. Even as a teenager, I was kind of intimidated by teachers and having to have any sort of confrontation. Not because they did anything wrong, but I just, wasn't really about always approaching that situation and always saying, hey, this is what I need. These are the accommodations I need, at least not verbally. And so I actually, because I was somewhat not shy at the time, but just not ready for that conversation all the time, I did it through writing because, that's been one of my passions. In addition to speaking, I started writing letters to my teachers in middle school, basically at the beginning of every year, basically explaining my accommodations, what I needed, and each one of them really went out of their way to communicate with me. And once I felt like I was really being listened to, I felt more empowered to speak up. And so that's kind of something that I've carried with me throughout high school, throughout college, and even to the workforce. And so, you don't know, you don't try. And in the moment it may seem like, oh, I'm scared, and I get it. That's why I do what I do now, and I've done what I've done before, is because I want people to feel empowered. Because I think it's easy to be scared, it's easy to say, hey, I don't, understand it, but you never know what you don't try. You never know what somebody might say, and you might have good days and might have bad. But I really appreciate the community I've found with Yeti and just with people in general, and encouraging me and coming together as a team and saying, hey, like, you can do this. We all can do this. And so, it's had its ups and downs, but I think overall, my self advocacy journey has really had more supporters, and also has really emboldened me and empowered me to be willing to speak up, even if it doesn't always lead to results, just being willing to try.
Great. So let's talk about work for a second. Mom, Debra, in terms of when Billy starts thinking about work, where does that conversation go, and where are we now?
Well, I mean, as he mentioned, he's an excellent writer. So he has been excellent at sending out letters saying this is my disability, but these are my abilities, and this is what I can do. The challenge has been in terms of work and working with. I mean, he got connected with the vocational rehabilitation counselor early on with disability services for the blind. So we did all of our documentation. He went through a lot of the training sessions, Governor Moorhead School for the Blind, Independent Living Center, Helen Keller. But I'll be honest with you, I think what was more successful was, okay, we did a person-centered planning plan for Billy. And he started making contacts, and he ended up with the internship at Ryan Seacrest Studio because he loves to talk, he loves music. He started doing he was like, they call him DJ Billy, and so he started doing a lot of shows weekly for the Ving Children's Hospital on the TV. And he also, I mean, I believed in, because he loves to write, and in terms of the news. And so we had editor of a newspaper at our church that said, okay, we'll let him come and do some job shadowing behind me. So he did that. And so it's not just VR. I mean, I'm not sure about other states, but in North Carolina, they don't have probably enough VR counselors. And so we had to step out and I say, Billy, you have to search and do your homework, and we got to help find you what it is you want to do. So he did some job shadowing. And of course, he was the youth outreach coordinator for Exceptional Children Assistance Center. He can tell you more about that. And so you have to, he has advocated for himself pretty much all his life in terms of, this is what I really want to do, but I really don't like doing this. But I was like, let's give it a try. Just so, parents have to, that's when parents have to step up and say, okay, I know this person, they have a connection. Let's see
My
if,
parents helped me find my first job. I worked at the Woolworths lunch counter.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's typical for any
yeah,
family.
yeah. And so, all your contacts, just reach out and ask questions and say, can I just shadow you for a day and see if that's really something that I would like doing? And so you have to put yourself out there, but more importantly, you have to show them your abilities to do the job. And that's critical. And I know when Billy was talking earlier, because we all have challenges. Billy, and he's very open to his anxiety. When he was in high school, I mean, you say math test to Billy, he's going to get sick. And so the teachers, they work with him and they said, okay, they will let me know he has a quiz tomorrow. Don't tell him. But they accommodated him, he was in the visual impaired room. And, once he started doing that math test, he will make A or B. It's just a thought of, I mean, this is just difficult.
Test anxiety.
That's that anxiety. And we all have it. I mean, whether we have a disability or not, we all have that anxiety over something. And so you have to accept the fact that, and you have to, he knows how to relax, and he loves music and to calm him down. So you have to find what it is that works for you in order to get through that anxiety moment.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and Billy, I want to hear about the kind of work that you've done, and thank you, Mom, for kind of highlighting some of it, I guess. But when you were younger, what I really want to know about is when you were younger, what did you think your career and life would be like?
I
And
think
and where are you now? Besides
yeah,
hanging out with me too much.
no, you're good. I think that when I was it really spanned a lot, but I think that one of the main things that I always felt like I wanted to be was into writing and speaking, and specifically around the things that I was most passionate about, like music and sports. It's like the two things, like two biggest passions in my life. And I remember when I was younger, I wanted to be a DJ, and then I saw how much DJs made, and I was like, I'm good. Then it could be like a little side hustle. So I would explore different little careers, like, I want to be into this, or I want to be into that. But when I really saw how much, and then funny story, my mom, I'm sure she would mind me sharing, she wanted me to be a pastor, when I was younger.
Amen.
I could see that.
And I'm a very spiritual man, like I believe in, a lot of that, but I wanted to go out into the world, and I made a promise to her that whatever I did, it would reflect, everything you taught me and everything that you brought for me. But I really love music and sports, and this is really what I wanted to do. So going back to that conversation about advocacy, I had to step up for myself during IEP meetings, and that's another thing I would mention is make sure that your student, even if they don't attend there, because I know that it can be boring for students to attend 504 and IEP meetings, but even if they can't, let them have a say in it. Let them have it even before they're 14, which I know a lot of states is the age to be a part of that. But let them kind of have a say in what they want to do. I think that's really important from an early age. But I let my mom know what I wanted to do, and like she said, they make connections with people and that were in the field, and so as far as I ended up working for ECAC for a few years as youth outreach coordinator, helping youth advocate for themselves, and I felt like that was my calling in that moment, to help others be encouraged and advocate for themselves. But now I'm really going into the next year. I took some time off to focus on family, but I'm really interested in getting a job with, a publication, maybe freelance work next year. like I want to maybe work for Billboard or Rolling Stone or ESPN, one of those platforms, and because I really want to lean into, and I also want to go to school for voice acting. I love voice acting, so I really want to lean into the things that I love. Not that all self advocacy and whatnot is very important to me, but I really want to lean into my passions like sports and music and pop culture,
Mm-hmm.
and really lean into those things going into the next year. So I'm going to be looking into some jobs related to that, like Billboard or ESPN or something of that nature.
And I also need to add that the letter that he sent to all his teachers and professors, he added in that letter, if you have a question about me, don't call my mama. Call me.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So my next question for you, Debra, is early on, there was some struggles. It was not necessarily roses, especially before Billy started to really learn how to advocate for himself.
Right.
What was it like now? I mean, now look at him. You're seeing a whole different person.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Mom?
Well, I feel great about how he has progressed and how he's grown and matured. But I will say to other parents that have siblings, that has been my challenge because he has a sister that's 5 years older than him,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like she probably felt like she was the mom at some point because I worked a full-time job uh, at the bank. And so I probably didn't give her as much attention, and I'll admit that because of the attention that I need to give to her brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I think make sure you're paying attention and make sure you're involving the siblings. And I know at ECAC we had like a sibling workshop. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that now that I'm giving her more attention because of my grandchildren, uh, I'm feeling a little guilty that okay, now I need to refocus my attention to Billy because
We're always
he
going to be stretched.
yeah, always going to be stretched. But I know that he's always said that I wanted a family, you know, um, and in terms of his next career. So you have to know how to balance that. And because all your children, they're all important. And I pray and I thank God that they know the the purpose of what's happening, and she's willing to help step up and help out with him. He's
Mm-hmm.
willing to step up and help out with her. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's all about family because it takes a village to raise a
It
child.
does. It does. Okay, so I have one question for the both of you. Let's play a game of pretend that you are presenting to a whole room full of parents whose kids are much younger. What's like the one piece of advice, thinking about all the stuff that we talked about and reflecting on it? What's the one piece of advice both of you, and they could be different pieces of advice, would share with a room full of parents whose children are much younger, possibly with the same disability, possibly not?
I think the most important thing for me would be to let them know to focus on their abilities, the abilities of the child, not just the disability.
Excellent.
I'm sure addressing that is very important because a lot of times with children with different abilities, a lot of times you will have to adjust things, make accommodations, but really focus on okay, what are they good at? What do they love to do? And really embrace that. Instead of be a parent, obviously, but instead of really pushing back on a lot of those things, really embrace what are they capable of, what gives them confidence. I
Mm-hmm.
think really finding those abilities will embolden them. And I think there's a lot of focus on, oh, my child can't do this because of this, or they can't do that. And one thing mom always said is, can is not a word in your vocabulary. If you believe in yourself and you really want to do it, then go for it. And you may fail, but that's okay. We all do. You may have shortcomings, but that's okay. We all do. So really focusing on the abilities of that child and emboldening them and empowering them to embrace those abilities along with their disability.
And I think that my advice would be um, especially to parents, um, early intervention is very important. And I know it may take some time to accept the fact that you have a child with a disability. And my daughter is, I mean, she would admit that I told her early on with my oldest grandson that I think we need to have evaluations.
Good for you.
Yeah,
I have a friend whose um mother-in-law doesn't want to acknowledge that there's a problem.
yeah, yeah.
And that can be a real problem for families where, if the mother or the mother-in-law doesn't, oh, you're overreacting, whatever. It
Yeah,
can be a
yeah,
real problem in the
yeah.
family.
Well, he's getting ready to go through assessments. He's 3, because it's real obvious that we need to develop the speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, until we can develop that speech, teachers are going to say it's a behavior problem. It is not a behavior problem.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be able to communicate what he needs. And so she finally told me, she said, Mom, you're right. I should have started earlier. I said, don't worry about it. I mean, you're starting at least before he starts school,
Right.
kindergarten. So,
Right.
I mean, and a lot of these services, I mean, really, most of them are free. I mean, depending
Mm-hmm.
on where you live and the state that you
Exactly.
live in, take advantage of them. Get some help. I had somebody coming into the house to help me with Billy, and she started teaching him how to read Braille before he started school. And so by the time he got to elementary, um, he started. He was he was in the VI visual impaired classroom. But by the time he got to middle school, he was in general ed, general education. All they had to do was braille up his assignments. He completed the assignments, and he went to the VI room. They converted the assignments to print. So he asked them to do, give me my assignments in braille at least a week or two before they're due.
Sure.
And so he advocated for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's okay. I mean, they can learn and they can grow and they can be whatever they want to be. We just got to give them the tools and the resources that's out there. I mean, they're out there. I mean, whether it's autism, visual impairment, I mean, you can advocate to get, if you need a one-on-one or whatever you need, request it.
Uh,
So I would say, surround them with socialization and social circles. Don't just focus on the academics. I think that one thing that I feel like I made up for it in the past few years, but one thing I kind of regret not doing enough in school was involving myself in clubs or going, to different social events. I was so focused on school and academics. I think it's really important that whether it's people with disabilities, whether people without disabilities, I mean, I would argue both. I would argue it's good to have people with disabilities in your life, but it's also good to socialize with others. I know that can be difficult sometimes. I mean, people get bullied, things happen. People aren't always the kindest, but I do believe, for every 10 people that don't understand you, there'll be one person that does, regardless of whether they have a disability or not. And so, if they're into, find things, like I said, find things they're into, whether they're into gaming or they're into sports, find groups that will grow their love for that and that share their love for that, and that they'll see, oh, I'm just a human beyond, my disability, beyond that, and I can be assimilated into society the same way that anyone else can. I don't feel left out. So definitely make sure that the socialization aspect of things is covered early on.
No,
I
thank you.
have no
Thank
more
you.
questions.
Yeah,
You
thank
guys have
you.
done a great job.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all your wisdom and your energy. And one of the things that has always been so noticeable to me, having to get to know both of you, is your enthusiasm for anything that you put your mind to, and that when you're in something, you're all the way in. And I have so much respect and admiration for what you've helped me learn and what I think you're helping others learn by what you do, especially what you said, Deborah, about the importance of family and community. I think that it's essential so much, not just for the disability community, but for everybody. And so,
Yeah.
thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And
And
stay tuned for more Same Page podcasts.
Yeah, we're not
Happy
done.
holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.